I'm Deborah. Every time someone asks me to water their plants while they're on vacation, a wave of nausea washes over me, and memories I've tried so hard to bury come flooding back. It all started on what seemed like an ordinary day, a simple favor that would shatter my world. My parents, Henry and Lily Thompson, were a seemingly ordinary couple in their late 60s. Dad had worked as an accountant for most of his life, and Mom was a retired schoolteacher. They were well known in our small town for their kindness and community involvement. They hosted neighborhood potlucks, volunteered at the local library, and always remembered everyone's birthdays. A few months ago, they came to me with excitement in their eyes. "Deborah, we've been saving up for this for years," Dad said. "We're finally going to use those time-share points in Florida. 2 weeks in Miami, starting next Thursday." Mom showed me the brochures, talking about the beaches and the warm weather. I was happy for them, thinking it was a well-deserved retirement celebration. My wife, Ava, and I agreed to take care of their house while they were away. It seemed like a simple task: water the plants, collect the mail, and make sure the place looked lived in. As we drove to their house on Thursday afternoon, Ava joked, "Your mom's precious roses are going to die if you're in charge. Remember when you killed that cactus?" I laughed, saying, "That was a fluke. I'll do better this time." When we arrived, I unlocked the front door, and the familiar smell of home hit me, the faint scent of Dad's pipe tobacco and Mom's homemade cookies. The house was as tidy as ever. Mom had left detailed instructions on the kitchen counter, complete with a color-coded chart for each plant. "Typical Mom," Ava said with a smile. I started watering the plants in the living room, while Ava went upstairs to use the bathroom. "I'm using the one with the fancy shower head," she called down. I heard the creaking of the floorboards as she walked around. Then, suddenly, everything went silent. I stopped misting the ferns and listened. There was a moment of stillness, and then I heard a loud gasp, followed by the sound of running footsteps. Ava appeared at the top of the stairs, her face as white as a sheet, her eyes wide with terror. "We have to leave now," she said, her voice trembling. I was stunned. "What? Why? What's going on?" I asked, my heart pounding in my chest. "Get in the car and call the police," she said, grabbing my arm and pulling me towards the door. "Ava, tell me what happened," I demanded. But she just repeated, "Just go. Call 911 from the car." Something in her voice made me obey. We ran out of the house, and Ava practically pushed me into the car. She kept looking back at the house, as if she expected something to come out and chase us. "Drive," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I drove a few blocks away and pulled over. My hands were shaking so badly that I could barely hold the phone. I dialed 911 and said, "My wife found something in my parents' house. In their closet. She says you need to check it." The dispatcher asked what she found, and I looked at Ava. She took the phone and said, her voice flat and emotionless, "There are bodies. At least 3. Hanging in the closet. And other things. Please send the police to 321 Elm Street." The police arrived within minutes, followed by more officers and eventually the FBI. Ava and I were taken to the police station, where she had to explain over and over what she'd seen. She told the detective, "I thought the door on the right was the bathroom. But it was a walk-in closet. And there were people hanging from the clothes racks. They were dressed up like mannequins, but they weren't." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. These were my parents, the people who had always been there for me, who had taught me right from wrong. The detective showed me a photo of my parents at the airport, boarding a flight to Brazil. "This was taken just 2 hours ago," he said. It became clear that they had planned this for a long time. The house was too organized, as if they wanted someone to find the bodies. The medical examiner estimated that the oldest remains could be from 8 years ago. Dad had worked in a morgue during his college days, and it seemed he had used that knowledge to preserve the bodies. Over the next few months, the investigation revealed the full extent of their crimes. The victims were travelers from all over the country, people with no local connections. Mom had been using a fake identity on online travel forums, luring people to their bed and breakfast. Dad had helped with the logistics, making sure they left no traces. 17 victims were identified through DNA and dental records. They were hikers, business travelers, and retirees on road trips, just like my parents had targeted. The FBI profiler said, "Your parents were collectors." It wasn't just about the killing, it was about creating their own macabre museum. I thought about all the times I had been in that house, sitting at the dinner table, laughing and chatting with my parents, while there were 17 dead bodies just a few feet away. Ava couldn't sleep for weeks. She would wake up in the middle of the night, whispering, "What if I had opened that door earlier?" The house became a crime scene, then evidence, and finally an empty shell. No one wanted to buy it, and it stood there, a silent testament to the horror that had taken place inside. I would drive by sometimes, looking at the overgrown garden and the boarded-up windows, trying to reconcile the memories of my childhood with the truth I now knew. 6 months after they disappeared, I received a postcard. There was no return address, and the image showed a Brazilian beach at sunset. It read, "Taking care of our new plants. Hope you're watering the old ones. Love, Mom and Dad." The FBI analyzed the postcard, but there were no useful leads. It was just a reminder that somewhere out there, my parents were still pretending to be normal. I changed my last name and moved to a different state. Ava supported the decision, in fact, she suggested it. "I can't stand being in this town anymore," she said. "Everywhere I go, I think about what they did. We told people our families were dead. It was easier than the truth. Sometimes, I dream about the closet. I never saw it, but I know it was there, filled with the remains of innocent people. I wonder if my parents ever think about me, if they feel any guilt for what they've done. Or maybe they just see me as a part of their normal life, separate from their dark world." The plants in my parents' house died. The roses that Mom had cared for so lovingly, the ferns that she had watered every morning. They withered away in that empty house, just like the family I thought I had. The FBI says they're still looking for my parents, but I don't believe they'll ever be caught. My parents were too careful, too good at hiding in plain sight. I'll never water anyone's plants again. That simple favor turned into a nightmare that I'll never be able to forget. Now, I live in a constant state of fear and disbelief, knowing that evil can lurk behind the most ordinary facades.